Okay, so this is my cage match against xyrix, I don't know, for Changeling. So this is for the Necromancer cage match, quarterfinals, and the cage matches for Changeling. So um, this board was I was kind of hyped for this board because there was pathfinding, there's encampment, and that was fun. So my goal here was I wanted to spike for pathfinding and then put it on pawn, not realizing that by putting it on encampment you get the bonus on both encampment and plunder, which is kind of would have been great. So that last turn there, xyrix used was a Sacred Grove and got Sky's Gift, and I took it too, since gold is good with encampments. And yeah, so there I got an early pathfinding, and yeah, it's kind of been. I thought things were going pretty well up until xyrix got a bunch of encampments, and then I realized, oh no, I don't have encampments. I'm not sure if I play the encampment here. I don't. Yeah. So I just get more pawns because with the pathfinding, pawns are basically labs, and it was good. It was. I still think it was a good idea, or it's nice to have. Except at this point, xyrix is not dudding with his encampments, and is getting plunders, and you know. Basically, it was ahead in a lot of aspects, so I think I still take a plunder here at only 6, or do I just take 2 pawns? Yeah, I'm debating over extra pawns or plunders, but since xyrix has pathfinding on encampment and plunder, it was just doing too well. Also, in this game, I didn't notice right away, so rats can gain changeling, so you trash something with the rats, instead of getting another rat, you're getting changeling, and that was actually pretty cool because it's an extra way of getting encampments and plunders, and it worked out pretty well for my opponent here. I had a bit of a VP edge because I could get colonnade. Pretty nice. Yeah, somehow I didn't track my deck properly, and I lost my encampment, which was terrible. I also ended up getting a rats once I noticed the changeling interaction. With rats and changeling, but at that point it's kind of too late because my opponent already got most of the plunders and most of the encampments, and I lost an encampment, and yeah, I didn't feel good. The thing is, I have an advantage with colonnades that I could buy pawns and get extra colonnade points. Here I'm desperately trying to get back, so I look for a swamp hag, thinking, well, my opponent stop my opponent from getting a bit of using too many buys without consequence, but it's just going to be able to power through in the end, since has a lot of control of rats and has a lot of so see, even the plunders are drawing cards, so it's basically drawing the deck no matter what you do and drawing the other plunders, and it's just gets the has 4 encampments over my 1, so I have the pawns. The pawns are, it's not that they were bad, it's just it's not as good as what I could have done. It's just they're not worth falling behind this badly. So really, I think the really interesting thing my opponent did here was with the rats, trashing and then getting changelings, and then changelings are just so good when you're trying to contest, let's say, the encampment, the split piles. So in this case, it's particularly noticeable with encampment and plunder because it's only 5 of each, and they're both cards you really want. Or well, either you want a lot of one or a lot of the other. So getting the changelings was pretty nice. So here, to my disappointment, pawn with pathfinding can't be used as a necropolis, so I'm stuck not getting being able to play all my terminals. here it's interesting because my opponent was using Sacred Grove for plus buy instead of pawn, and the Sacred Grove actually did some pretty nice stuff for my opponent. Basically, getting a lot of money to buy, and he got it pretty early. Yeah, so I'm doing quite a bit with my encampment points, but there's nothing. I'm still behind in VP at this point. I'm debating whether to take a copper for moneylender, but it's not. Pretty sure it's not going to matter. I think what's going to happen here is, yeah. So I think I'm in desperation mode. So yeah, I'm changing those for golds because I don't want to lower the piles for pawn any further. I think my opponent's still going to be able to pile out. It's quite possible. Yeah, so he gets all the buys he needs with that Field's Gift. So that was a pretty cool game. Unfortunately, I lost there, yeah, but yeah, so I really got outplayed. This is where I really felt like I got outplayed. It was just I missed too many elements of the game, and I got crushed. So here, more Pixie Goat. It's almost like I've been playing in this. I've played enough Pixie Goat in my cage matches to basically be like a cage match, cumulative cage match, which is Pixie Goat is the final cage match battle. So here, anyway, this is a colony board. So with seeing it as a colony board, I thought I went for big, so going for the slow buildup of the engine, but ultimately wanting to get, feeling like it would be worth getting a lot of grand markets and lost cities. But most important here is the witch. I wanted to get witch because even though goat is around, the thing with that is, so I get everything you're not, every curse you're trashing is a copy you're not trashing, but I get the transmogrify here because it's just I wanted some extra gains. Yeah, here I'm able to top deck a witch. It's kind of I think my opponent pops this pixie because my opponent was going for the really good start. Luckily, I have a bit of luck with the watchtower and able to top deck things. So I'm doing. I believe I buy another witch here, so that I'll top deck and just keep up the curses to buy time. And then you have schemes, so you could build the nice big engine. So actually you have two witches. I'm just attempting to slow down my opponent as much as possible. So you trash that for buys. I felt why not? I felt why not. Here I'm debating if I should trash the copper. So the changelings they didn't really come into play much at the start of this game because you could they're not really gainers that are gaining silver except for Masterpiece, which is actually going to come which is actually a big deal because basically you can Masterpiece for a bunch of changelings. You could overpay for Masterpiece, get a bunch of silvers, and it takes all of that for changelings. We don't do that. Well, spoiler, that doesn't happen until the very end where it's used as a pile out. So here I was a bit unfortunate with the terminal collision, but I at least blocked the curse with my watchtower. Though in general the watchtower is quite happy with the way it turned out here. Just top decking my gains even if I'm not using it. I'm behind on lost cities. Here's the thing about this game is that once again I neglected to notice a certain interaction, which is Tragic Hero gaining platinums instead of gold. So my opponent was getting those early tragic heroes to get platinums, and that was a huge boost to the economy. Yeah, so I felt like a bad shuffle was about to come on there, so I used this, pop that for Sun's Gift. So here, now that I have the schemes, I'm kind of okay because I can just top deck a Lost City. So yeah, here I'm starting to realize that my opponent's platinums are just, it's too good. Tragic Hero into platinum is just too good to ignore. But I still want I still feel like Grand Market is something I wanted. So with the curses almost gone, I exchanged the Witch for the Grand Market. So yeah, should get my first platinum there. And now here's the option is whether I want to top deck or not. I decide to top deck it so that I get a lot of gains in this last turn. That I could top deck with Watchtower instead of an action. So here, because I have Scheme and I could just top deck a Lost City, it's safe to get Tragic Hero. Top deck 2 like that. That was my thinking. So I was my opponent gets the Swamp's Gift. I'll double off Pixie, which is pretty good considering that the coppers and curses have been a thing. And with one pile down, and you can kind of overpay for 10 for Stonemason, for Masterpiece to get pile out the Changelings. So here's where I kick myself and say, well, I should have what's it called? Play the Pixie towards the end. But here I managed to save one of my Tragic Heroes. Yeah, and here I fortunately ran out of actions here. Didn't even draw the goats to trash a curse. But yeah, I get some Lost Cities. Well, I get one Lost City. Here you have to be careful because Lost City. There were fewer Lost Cities than I thought would be gained in this game. I thought they would almost get emptied, but at this point the decks are already so explosive. You don't really help the person draw. So, with the game near gets close, I think I have a edge in 1 VP, so I have -1 VP. My opponent has 2. So I believe my opponent starts to get colonies here. I have the transmute on the mat. Not transmute, transmogrify on the mat. So luckily my opponent doesn't double colony there. Gets another Lost City. So it gets another Tragic Hero. It's which is kind of dangerous at this stage because the files are so low. What my opponent has a VP lead, so it's a matter of. So here I'm debating if I should play the Pixie first or play it towards the end. So I'm looking at how many boons are left. If I'm going to see the Flames Gift that I already missed out on. So I'm deciding what I want to do, what order I want to play these cards. Or actually, I was deciding on if I was going to try to. No, apparently I was debating trying to get draw. So I thought if I can hit, if I could hit a very high number, I would be able to pile out, but I don't. I don't buy any more Pixies here because I'm worried about the pile out. And yeah, at that point I was not getting any more Lost Cities because I didn't want to. So my opponent doesn't get the best of hands here. Gets a colony, but you're gonna see what happens here. Is I go completely for the I shoot for the win here. So I wasn't sure if what I was going to do with my Tragic Hero. So if I was going to top deck. So there I got really lucky. I got the Field's Gift. That meant that I can continue to play my terminals, deciding if I want to top deck or the platinum. By top decking the platinum, I have 27, something like that, a lot of money. And with this, I'm able to buy a colony and overpay for Masterpiece for 10 changelings, which just wins me the game there. I was making sure I counted it right, and you pay, and then I was deciding, do I care about optimizing? No. So overpay, find the thing on the UI that lets me, and then yeah. So I win by 1 curse, which is yeah. And that was pretty cool ending there. Yeah, so you see my opponent had 1 curse. That made enough of a difference. So I wasn't sure. I guess at the start I wasn't sure that you would end on a Masterpiece overpay, but the deck was so explosive. I'm not sure if I don't think I noticed the Masterpiece Changeling thing right away, but pretty early I figured it out. I thought it might come into play, but and I was looking for I was hoping for the Pixies to give me something good. That's what I'm trying to explain in chat. Is that I was hoping for Forest's Gift, or Field's Gift or Forest's Gift towards the end. There's some kind of boon that helps me pile out, and I was happy that I won by a curse. So now we've each won 1 time. So the next game, yeah, saying I was very jealous of the watch. My opponent was jealous of the Watchtower. The Watchtower did a lot for me there. I felt like I was a bit behind because my opponent started on the Tragic Heroes, but I was able to persevere. This was like a seemingly awful board where I thought I was going to open bridge, and then not even worth opening bridge because there's no plus action. And I'd rather open Salvager, and I wasn't even sure what I was going to do afterward. I think I was just going to go try maybe some count tunnel thing, or some trying to get trading post. Changeling, I don't know, you could get it off trading post, but really or even discarding tunnel, but it didn't seem very relevant. It was just not a. One thing I did miss was that my opponent, not my opponent, Visunar, was saying at the end in the chat that maybe Bishop Golden Neck could have worked. But it's not clear how good that would be. So my opponent, to my surprise, opens Pirate Ship, and then I realized maybe there was some element in this game that I didn't consider. But here, I strongly debate what I want. If I want to trash the silver for altar or just try to get a 5. It was a tough decision. I was worried about the pirate ship, so I wanted a way of gaining stuff, and then I was trying to pivot to at this point pivot to tunnels with count and try to hope that my opponent discards tunnel for gold, and I just kind of power through, rush for provinces, salvaging whenever I could. So yeah, it took a long time making this decision to try to get thinking about getting altar, and I ultimately get the altar with auto buy there. So my opponent starts the pirate ship train, and I'm actually pretty nervous here that I'm going to lose the pirate ship, but here I also have to decide. I once again get that awful don't hit my estates. What do? I again trash. This time I get a buy a gold because altar could gain me the 5s. So my deck gets pretty thin. My opponent does the pirate ship, you know, it's bad for the reasons that's bad. That sometimes the discarding, it's called trashing coppers, is a benefit. And I didn't want to I didn't want to show that I had I wanted to discard for gold. I didn't want to show that I missed out on salvager. It didn't really matter much here. So now I'm just getting, I think I just trashed a hand. So yeah, now it's starting to get a bit nervous because my opponent trashed the gold, but at this point now I'm powering through for provinces and get another tunnel there. My opponent also has a salvager, so it gets kind of close. And yeah, so having extra terminals is not super bad when you can just trash them with salvager for money. So that was kind of a nice the way it worked out. Here I was trying to figure out if I should trash tunnel for duchy. I think I do it. Yeah. And then just get more gold and just hope. So here again, I could just take salvager, trash the count. Altar will gain me the count, but really it's just duchy time. Yeah, just buy province here. So yeah, I'm not gonna play. Don't play the altar for anything. And here, because I was ahead in provinces, I just milled the last province, and yeah, quite the game. It was pretty ugly, but somehow something happened that was not awful, and the game ended on 16 turns. Okay. Yeah, if there was one of those games where it looked like pirate ship might actually be the play, but somehow I didn't lose, and it would have been pretty embarrassing to lose there. But maybe not. Maybe it would be foiled by pirate ship, and then people would rejoice. But the trick here was not to give in to the pressure, not to doubt myself. I basically went for something and stuck with it, and did whatever weird play. So here, this board, my opponent gets the 5-2, but I also feel like I misplayed this board. I really felt like I misplayed this. So what happens? I start at 4-3. So my opening's not. Yeah, I'm saving the game number here. So the opening's not too bad because I could get Envoy, and you have Vila Envoy. You have that whole the crazy engine thing, and you play Envoy and you buy Vila, all that fun stuff. It's what I do after. And basically what I was thinking here is get the Envoy, get a lot of money, trade, and then trade, you get some high quality treasure in your deck. But really what ends up happening is that I should have probably just gotten counterfeit instead of I even take a changeling there. But I probably should have just gotten counterfeit and like worked harder on getting my deck thin so that the eventual engine that you build doesn't get too bad. There was other questions about if Duke was going to come into play, but ultimately I didn't think nothing was going to amount to much. So yeah, here is. I was debating if I should let him have the discard the estate so that he can't trash it with trade. There was a chance that he didn't have 2 estates in hand already, or but then I discard the copper because I thought maybe there's a chance he doesn't hit 5 if I discard the copper, but he still hits 5. Yeah, so he takes a changeling. Yeah, so I thought he was. I was just debating whether to discard the estate, but he already had 2 estates in hand, so I did the math wrong somewhere. So yeah, this is the theme I'm gonna have, is that my deck is not very thin. So I feel like I'm okay at the time. I felt like I was doing okay because I was gonna get more counterfeits later. Not sure why I didn't discard the Envoy there. I think it's just yeah. So again, my opponent gets the what's that card? The Sacred Grove. And the Sacred Grove, I mean, why not? It's a source of plus buy. You can you have Vila, you can play it, and it's a good source of coin. You get some benefits out of it. Overall and average. So I did end up getting a Gladiator because it's totally. This seemed like eventually Fortune was going to come into play here. And I thought once the villas run out, I was thinking it could pivot to bandit camp, so you still have some more villages, and the bandit camp helps you maybe draw the fortune. So really, I'm not even sure what I should be. I try to discard the Sacred Grove, so he has less payload to buy more villas and whatnot. But so at this point, I'm thinking, well, yeah. So my opponent got more cards that allowed him to get the Sacred Grove, and just you pile out the end. You just do a lot with Envoys and Changeling. So Changeling was pretty effective here. My opponent gets all the Envoys. Yeah, so there, I keep using Vila. I think here, now that all the Envoys are gone, I'm thinking I wanted to figure out what kind of pilot would be possible. Or what I should do with the Vilas, if I should try to pile out the Vila so that my opponent can't buy Vila anymore to help his shuffles. Not his shuffles, his draws. But then at the same point, I also kind of wanted Vila, so I was a bit worried. Honestly, this part was a case of not really knowing what to do with. I think what happens is I Vila here. I finish getting the Vilas, and then I Changeling for the last Vila, but then exchange that for a Changeling so that I don't get an extra Vila. But looks like I didn't do that. Yeah, I keep one. Yeah, so I did a really stupid play there by exchange. Exchange doesn't actually the Vila doesn't actually get bought. It doesn't actually disappear from the supply. So my opponent had 2 Vilas that I was able to take advantage of, and I have a terrible dud here where I just have 3 Vilas and 2 coppers. Just it was already looking grim for me, but even after the Wind's Gift, I don't draw. So this is where I really felt like not having that early counterfeit really worked against me, and not having as many Envoys as my opponent, or unless we split the Envoys 5-5, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure how many Envoys. But yeah, so fortune is revealed. My opponent is thinking. I was just worried that he hits what's it called 18 at this point, because if he hits 18, he would be able to pilot the Vila and Changeling, but he would still be a tie unless he because he wouldn't be able to buy a VP. And I think no, it's first to 3 points, so he wouldn't lose if he tied. But I think he's the debate is if you go for fortune here. So yeah, I was thinking he had a pile out, but then I just shut up, because the other thing he could do is if he buys a Vila and then gets all the estates, that would be he would need 19 for that. But he has the yeah. So actually, what it is, it's I remember going through the same process. First, thinking the Changeling pile out and then the estate pile out is you buy the Vila, you use the counterfeit to get the 8th buy. You buy the Vila. If you have 19, you pile out estate and you just win. And I was thinking about what I should have done, so I was thinking probably should have gotten a counterfeit. I'm preparing to type that in chat, but I don't think I type it, because it turns out yeah, so he was thinking a long time. I thought he was. Wasn't even sure what was going on. What I was thinking in my head when I saw that. I got kind of a jolt. But he didn't have 19. He couldn't pile out, so he has to do a turn. And I'm pretty sure he's going to. Yeah. So he actually just takes. So he gets the fortune gold and just pays the debt, which is. I thought that was a bit surprising. I get the gold 2 for palace points. Just try to equalize. Of course, this hand was bad too. Yeah, and then I say I should have got counterfeit in the first 5. So I guess out here I was praying that he wouldn't buy the last villa. And yeah, I don't think he does buy the last villa. Yeah, he doesn't. So I'm rejoicing, kind of. I had exactly. I got in 4 there, so I got lucky there. I should have maybe kept the second counterfeit, but worked out. The problem here is that I still don't accomplish much with my deck. I don't have a fortune. Yeah, so I think I got the. Not sure if I put on a revealed bandit camp here. So I'm behind in VP. I was thinking if I can somehow do a change. I think a while here to see if I can do some sort of pile out with Changeling while also getting gold for palace points. But there's nothing. There's nothing I can. There's no pile out like that available here. I was thinking trade. Maybe you trade and you get some Changelings and you get a bunch of gold, and somehow you pile out Changeling while also getting gold, but it's... So somehow you would buy trade, trash 2 cards, get 2 Changelings, but doesn't really... You don't get anywhere. Yeah, I didn't see the win here. It may So in the end, I think I'm forced to try to take a just points and then a fortune. Actually, I can't even do that because I can't afford province fortune. So I just go for the palace points, but I only have 2 silvers in my deck, so I don't even have. So I think here I just at some point I end up resigning this. This was resignable at some point. Because or unless my opponent, I think my opponent just had the win here, and then I just resigned before he finished off. I'm pretty sure that's how it happens because there's only 5 changelings. No, I don't even wait it out. I just resign. Maybe my opponent wasn't going to finish there, but he would just get province if anything. So it goes to game 5, and whoever wins this one wins the game. And this one coming up is quite. You'll see how it happens. So there's Shepherd and there's a bunch of stuff. And what I was thinking here was you trash down the coppers with sacrifice. Keep maybe not all 3 estates. Maybe transmogrify one of the estates into something useful. But then go for the minion deck. And with the minion, like I see my opponent get the Shepherd opening, and I'm thinking, well, Shepherd's not going to be that good if, or there's a chance that Shepherd duds a lot if you go minion and just make them discard and drop to 4. With the only 4-card hand, I was thinking, with only a 4-card hand, the Shepherd seems a lot surprisingly less reliable. I was hoping that it would be a lot less reliable with the 4-card hand. So I do get the Shepherd because I still want it. I mean, you have pasture and you have some. I start off with some VP, so I don't go crazy with the Shepherd strategy, which my opponent does. My opponent starts. Yeah, so my opponent got the Horn of Plenty, so it looks good for my opponent at this stage. You could even buy a. You could buy a card and then gain and in, and then shuffle them both in. And there's mission here too. So I was looking at opportunities whenever I had a really bad hand, but I needed to transmogrify something, I would get a mission. So he gets a second Horn of Plenty. I think either I go mission here or a second sacrifice. Yeah, I get the second sacrifice. Probably here I get the mission. Yeah, and then I set aside the transmogrify, and I was hoping that you can gain Changeling, but you really can't. So here, I think I go for maybe trash and sacrifice for minion. No, for in looks like. Minion. I'm not. I was debating on which one, if I had anything in my discard. So now I start discarding, so I make it harder for my opponent to do anything. Looking at this now, if I was deck jacking, it would have been obvious that my opponent had Shepherd in that hand, so I just discarded a good hand there, caused a dud, and it's things. Once I get the Horn of Plenty, things are actually going to start going my way. So yeah, my opponent seems to be doing a bit of things, but then I'm sure if you look at my opponent's score, they have 10 VP. That's because my opponent has bought 2 estates already. So he's actually bought estates. So here, you still want to play the Shepherd. You still want to draw some cards. I wasn't too concerned about being inefficient with minion here. I just wanted to see my my Horn of Plenty. So gained it in here. And the thing with this board is that you have library. So the key thing is going to happen is that you're going to start discarding stuff. You're going to start playing your ins. You're going to play your my sacrifice, the terminals, and then you just draw back up with library. And then once you do that, you draw everything you need to draw back your Horn of Plenty, and you just start the gain train here. And I was insistent on using the minion attack pretty much every turn I could. I just wanted to make my opponent's life a bit harder. So I've actually gotten pretty thin here. I've been keeping my estates. I was worried about, especially keeping the pasture. I was worried that my opponent might get, I might need the VP at some point. So my opponent actually has 12 VP because my opponent has now 6 estates, bought 3 estates. The monument, I just felt like it was a 4 that I could transmogrify later, but if I need to play something, it's a 4 that I can play. But you see, I immediately trash it. So it was more that it costed 4 that I wanted the monument, but I felt like it's something, if I couldn't transmogrify it, it seemed like the best 4 I can play at that moment. And now I have the library. And also in is not as good when clearly when you're starting with 4-card hand. And yeah, I'm just feeling bad. Like my opponent it's just not working out for him anymore. He has bought a 4th estate, so he was going super heavy on the shepherds, and yeah, so there's not much left I wanted to sacrifice. Get the second Horde of Plenty because it's the only, well, that and Changeling and Transmogrify, there's only gaining. So yeah, see here, I'm actually discarding. I don't because I have library. I'm very confident, and some ins. I'm very confident that I'm still gonna find my my Horn of Plenties, while also doing more with my turn. So you see, there, I have 3 gains now. So it's yeah, shuffle the 2 in, and now I'm going for VP, just in case. So once the thing is here. The province, it's like buying an estate for, like, if you're going to buy an estate for boosting Shepherd, well, province also boosts Shepherd. Yeah, I was realizing that I should have, I think I have a Transmogrify on the mat, and I should have trashed the sacrifice for another 5 cost. But yeah, like, now you just go for provinces because province is good with Shepherd, and see, I'm going to get another shepherd probably. You get a shepherd, and then that's just, as you get provinces, you're still not losing too much reliability there. I finally remembered to trash the sacrifice there. So yeah, I was hoping to draw a minion there, and I do. So getting some luck. Yeah, I kept the shepherd because then once you just draw, and I would just draw a deck because that's what shepherd does. When once you start getting provinces, somehow you actually start drawing your deck when you couldn't before. It's this bizarre thing, really. Probably what I should do is, I guess I just trashed a Horn of Plenty for a province, and so I'm pretty ahead in points. And my opponent just resigns. It's just not working out, and that was the game. That was the Changeling Cage Match. That was the one game that Changeling didn't get bought at all, and my opponent played generally very well. The games where my opponent beat me, I was just outplayed. I felt maybe the 5-2 on the counterfeit board was good, but still I just misplayed those games. So it was well done. I had to congratulate my opponent there. This conversation goes on for a very long time, but yeah, thanks for watching.